Wamama Waafrika wahitaji upendo. Wamama Waafrika wastahili heshima. Wamama Waafrika wahitaji upendo. Wamama Waafrika wastahili heshima. Angalia sura yake inahuzunisha. Angalia macho yake yanahuzunisha. Angalia sura yake inahuzunisha. Angalia macho yake yanahuzunisha. Wamama Waafrika wahitaji upendo. Wamama Waafrika wastahili heshima. Angalia sura yake inahuzunisha. Angalia macho yake yanahuzunisha. You deserve a lot of respect, Mama Africa, for the big role you play. You deserve acknowledgement, Mama Africa, in the community. You deserve a lot of respect, Mama Africa, for the big role you play. You deserve acknowledgement, Mama Africa, in the community.
Sorry, Dr. Linda Musumba. And Dr. Linda Musumba, again, is a gender policy expert and a renowned lawyer in this country. And I will just welcome her to the floor because I know we are running very late so that she can begin to guide the session. And she will introduce the panelists and then take us through the rest of the session.
Of the National Treasury and Planning, but right now he's wearing the hat of the Credit Guarantee Scheme Manager. You're aware, of course, that the Credit Guarantee Scheme is a device that has been rolled out recently, and he's going to talk more about that. I don't want to, to actually delve into it. The manager is here himself. Then we have Mr. Paul Samoei. He's a senior manager in the research division at the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Mr. Samoei, I think, will be able to address the question that Professor Kabira posed, which is whether, I meant to actually take off my mask so that those of you who don't know me can be able to, to see me clearly. We have, as I said, Mr. Samoei will be able to respond to the question that Professor Kabira posed. Are the statistics that are being rolled out in terms of gender, planning and budgeting for financial, inclusion of women, whether in fact the methodologies that suggested actually are fitting. Then we have Professor Kabira who will come and be able to tell us, based on again what other members and colleagues have been able to say, be able to tie up the discussions. So before I usher in Madam Adongo to come and be able to say something, I also want to greet the online audiences. I hope that just like it has been said by our colleague, that you have enjoyed this conference and that you're also going to enjoy this one as well. And also to say a very big congratulations to Madam Daisy Crown Trust for being able to hold these sorts of engagements, and which she has said are now going to take place annually. That is, I think, something that is, we need to applaud. I also want to thank also Madam Zuhura for being able to do something that is great, that if you have to be on the Securities Exchange, you have to have 30% women on boards. That's fantastic. Huh? So just before I call Madam Adongo, I just want to say something that I saw this morning on social media. I saw an item from India where a young boy had asked his father, a young boy in the 8th grade asked his father, Father, what does mother do? And father said, mother does nothing. She does not work. So the young boy took a pen and drew what the mother does. And that young boy's drawings have been adopted by the Indian government, which has released its strategy on, planning for, on gender issues. It actually is the cover of the book, because the young boy drew the mother doing so many things, it was unbelievable. Taking care of the young one, the care work that women do, agricultural work that she does in the house. This is a young boy who already sees what his mother is doing. And with that, I'd like to invite Madam Adongo to be able to come and talk to us on the subject of planning and budgeting for women's economic inclusion based on her perspectives from the ministry. Karibu. Just wait for him to spray, please.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Can I just start by saying I am hugely honored to be here. One, because I don't think I really should be called an expert. There's so many women I hold in high regard here. Professor Kabila, I always learn so much from you. Daisy, we do a lot of exchanges and also to my benefit. And I remember we had a lot of discussions before when you were conceptualizing this conference, and it's good to see that it's come to fruition, and I'm really, really proud of Contrast, yourself and your partners. And if you don't know, the lady who molded me into the woman I am today in the public service is none other than Betty. Betty was my supervisor when I joined government, and I learned so much from her. Also the time. Hard work, of being excellent in what you're doing. Her motto was, if you do the right thing and do it right. So thank you so much. I always appreciate. Public Service and Gender, and I work under the leadership of Professor Kobia. The ministry's core mandate is gender. One of the ministry's mandates is gender mainstreaming, which I think is very, very appropriate to today. The Ministry of Public Service oversees that. As well, alongside that Kenya has been a champion on SDGs, which are now the goals. Not only acceleration, but I think most of Kenya as a government saying is that we need to make sure that the SDG goals are met. We should be health, education, gender equality, reducing poverty, and not come up with new goals, but make sure that the commitments that have been made are therefore met. So this last 10 years, the focus is on commitment. Why am I saying this? The most important thing is that in order to be able to track if you're on the right path, we have to ensure that we can track how the resources towards the interventions and policies are done correctly. And because we know that a lot of things like poverty, health, and education have a female face, we have to ensure that we are using the right tools. Now, Kenya is one of the few countries, including South Africa, Morocco, that has adopted gender-responsive budgeting. And that is quite important because by doing that, we are recognizing that it's very important that we do that. The only challenge as a country that we have is while we've adopted the GRB, we don't have the robust tools of really ensuring that we can measure how we are doing it. So as a concept, it is adopted, it's allowed. And I think here, Kenya has actually, not the first time, but I think now we've brought a more robust way of measuring our gender mainstreaming, including GRB, into the performance contracting. So we are moving towards measuring it, but it's not as robust as it needs to be. Earlier this year, again, under the leadership of Professor Kobia and under the Common Women Agenda, we had a roundtable discussion on the space of women in national resource sharing and budget making. And the reason we did that was we realized that it was very important that I'm being advised I have 7 minutes. Thank you. So I will just kind of wrap it up. But I think and that is enough time to actually bring the point. One of the things that we realized, and Professor Kabira said, if you want to do something or talk about women, ask the women themselves. The roundtable brought our women parliamentarians. We were able to bring some of the commissions, GEC, and the CRA on board. We were able to bring the CSOs, and we were able to bring the academicians on board. Allow me to just read some of the important things that in this roundtable we did conclude. One of the things we looked at was that some of the important areas, particularly on Article 43, health, education, if you look at water, these all had female element to it. And therefore we said that women have a special opportunity to be able to put more effort in calling for more resource allocation. Look at how the planning is being done in this area to ensure that we meet our constitutional obligation of ensuring that this Bill of Rights is met. The second thing is we realize that there is need for us as the policy makers and also women champions to have the capacity. Because when you're talking about gender responsive budgeting, planning, all that is not done on the general. You have to have the capacity, one, to be able to know how to engage. And in that, it was agreed that we really have, particularly for the women parliamentarians, to ensure that we build their capacity to be able to advocate, because we found that what women were in the past doing was you go and advocate for what has been allocated. So as we know in maths, 0 times a million is 0. So you need to change the 0 factor. And therefore, it was agreed that we need to have more capacity for the women so that they are able to be able to engage actively. And just to acknowledge that when we were doing this conference, it was the first time that we were having the chair of the Budget and Finance Committee in Parliament being led by a woman who is Honorable Gladys Wanga. So that was quite important. I think one of the things that we got, and this came from the chair of CRA, Dr. Jane, was that there are some certain sectors that are very important, and women need to choose very clearly what we want to engage in. And the example she gave us was, if you look at health, which is a devolved function, health which means a lot to women, health which, as a country we have, committed to a certain percentage of allocation under the Abuja Declaration, we find that, this is a very important area that can have an impact, but we don't, it's not being realized. So what role can women play in ensuring that we follow on the county revenue allocation, understand it, be able to pick what are the priorities, where do we want our resources to go to? And she gave an example, in terms of some of the fiscal allocations that are being given. Do we understand them? Do our parliamentarians understand them? Do the policy makers understand them? Do we, as the women champion, understand this? And how do we, as a common group, then come and fight for those allocations? And this then would trickle down the benefits to the women and also on the general population. One of also the important thing was that, when we talk about allocations, we can ensure that the right things are done. As we know now, a lot of the allocation is going into recurrent and trying to fight for things like that. Then, as women, we were also looking at how can you then influence things. We were talking about an equalization fund. Be able to look at what is it, when we say equalization, not make it very generic, but make sure that they're specific to certain areas. So some of the areas we were looking at is water. And one of the things that we spoke in one of our common women agenda meetings was, at this point in time, why would you not have women, or let me just say households, not having water in Nairobi? And the implications of that for women in terms of time, but in fact of looking at your family in terms of health. So by being able to take this topic today and being able to say, this is where we want our resources to be for better impact and for making sure that that is done. And I say this from a policy perspective, that once you're able to do that, this becomes policy priorities. And also it becomes where we insist that the resources are sent. Another area of capacity building which we looked at was, when we talk about public participation, particularly in the budget process, it's about ensuring that women on the ground understand the importance of budget, but understand that what is this budget going to? If it is a road, is it leading to your market? How will it reduce your time, the expenditure of your time? How is it going to reduce the time allocation that you have? As we were being told around unpaid care. All these things have an influence in terms of the women. I think my time is nearly up now, but just as a way of finalizing, I think women, this is not only important for women, but gender, and as our minister always says, is not about a woman and a man. It's about equality. So ensuring that gender-responsive budget is, brought in. The mainstreaming of GRB in public finance is important. And particularly as a country, one of the things that we as a ministry had been looking at with the support of the Office of the Controller of Budget was looking at also the resources that go to the counties. That there is need to ensure that county assemblies are also trained, and that's part of the coordination work that the ministry is doing to ensure that even as they pass their budgets, do they understand the importance of GRB? Do they understand the importance and the impact that it can have? So some of the areas that the ministry has been really working on is looking at the capacity building element to ensure that GRB is not only a tool, But we have the people who are involved in that have the tools and understanding. And I'm glad that Treasury is here and also Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, because then they help in the actualization of this tool as we come. Thank you ever so much, and it has been a great pleasure. Asante.
Listening to Madam Elizabeth, I just wanted to continue to hear more about what the ministry is doing. I think she has articulated it very well, and without any further wastage of time, I'd like to invite Mr. Inyangala to come and tell us his part. I apologize, I meant to say that every speaker has 7 minutes, so pace yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Daktari. Thank you, Professor. Let me say I came with my colleagues from the National Treasury who are working on the guarantee scheme. They can just stand up. We have Sila Modoka, is among the people working on this. We have our intern. She's Sharon. She just joined us the other day from public service. So she's part of this journey. And then we have a Choka Jackson, is one who is dealing with our risk management. Can sit down. Allow me to say we are involved in a very transformative agenda as a National Treasury, a journey that began way back in 2009, 2007 with the National Economic Council, National Economic and Social Council. Our current PS, Dr. Muya, then was actually the head of that. When this country began to think about a guarantee scheme, they actually did a book, which is an important book. We need to publish it again. It talks about credit guarantee, the road of expanding enterprise and investment. So this is really a transformative agenda. It's the first of its kind in this, within this region. So the intention of this was just to look at the way of helping our micro, small, and medium enterprises who play a crucial role in our economy. The statistics are clear that about 14.9 million jobs are created by this group. So we take them very, very seriously. And that in this group, and by the way, and the essence of this conference, women are a big component of this. Actually, statistics show that around 48% of those micro, small, and medium enterprises are actually women. And this group actually does about 34 to 40% of our GDP. So you see how important this group is. So the journey then began in 2009. Of course, government takes time to think and be able to put in place the right framework. So what is a guarantee scheme? It's important for all of us to understand what we are talking about. A guarantee scheme is significantly different from what we will call a fund. The understanding of government is that the private sector has enough liquidity. And I must say that from the statistics of Central Bank of Kenya last year around June, there was an indication that our banking sector had about 50 and above liquidity, over above the required minimum of 20%. Actually, even the Tier 3 banks were doing around 37%. So the question is, why are they not lending to our MSMEs? That's where the guarantee scheme comes in. So a guarantee scheme is not a fund. It's a way to incentivize the private sector to be able to unlock their liquidity. And therefore, we also take advantage of their expertise in lending. You must be aware that it is in the banking industry where we have the right lending expertise. Of course, government has other initiatives, like use of funds. And I must say that, of course, the Women Fund is one of the best performing funds. But of course, the funds in it themselves, government has what we call limited resources. economists will talk about scarce resources and being allocated to unlimited needs. So, of course, a guarantee scheme unlocks what is available in the private sector to the MSMEs. So a guarantee scheme is not a one-to-one lending arrangement. Actually, what we are leveraging on is the resources in the banks. So the government gives you an undertaking that in case of default, meet the obligation. The problem around lending to MSMEs is both the perceived and the real risk. And that's why the banks do not release their liquidity. So what the government then does is to actually talk about being able to cushion the bank in case of a default. So in that case, therefore, the bank is able to lend its money comfortably. This type of arrangements have worked very, very well in East Asia, South Korea, Japan, Malaysia. Actually, we have among the best performing guarantees doing a multiplier effect of over and above 10. So that if you have 1 shilling, you are able to do 40 shillings on the market. And I want to say as a government, we have also tried it under a program that was being managed by Treasury called Profit. Profit program was a program looking at the rural areas and the rural farming. And the Profit program did a risk-sharing arrangement with 2 institutions, Absa Bank and Agriculture Finance Institution, where my colleague comes from. The scheme has done very well. It has done a multiplier effect of about 4.75, meaning for every 1 shilling that we guaranteed, we were able to unlock to the market about 4 shillings. So that is the transformative agenda around the guarantee scheme. Where do women come in this story? Women are an important group in our discussion. When we were doing the law, and we must thank the chair of the Finance Committee, Madam Gladys Wanga, she fast-tracked the process and we were able to have our law amended properly. And in that amendment, the provisionings around women was actually brought up very well. And it's very clear that in this process of unlocking resources, the story around women must come out without doubt. So it's clear that from the Public Finance Management Act Amendment 2020, that the story of women must be told by the various institutions that will be playing a role in this. In the regulation that we did last year and were published on 13th of October 2020, we clearly now amplified the law and said that the institutions that are playing a role in this, yes, I take note of the time and I'm about to finish, must actually demonstrate disaggregated data of the beneficiaries in terms of women, in terms of youth, and people with disability. And at least 30% of the resources must actually go to women, people with disability, and youth. So it's clear from where we sit that we are doing a transformative agenda for this country. What is the request we want to make to you? The request we want to make to you is that this is, government has not put money into banks. It must be very clear from this sitting that we have not put money into banks. We have provided a guarantee framework so that if you have a bankable business as a woman, then you walk to the bank will assess your loan in the light of the criteria that we have provided, and then if you fall within that category, you will be guaranteed. Whom are we guaranteeing? All micro, small, and medium enterprises, especially if the business is bankable. The biggest thing you need to help us guard, you help us guard the possibility of moral hazard, where you walk around and say, the government of Kenya has released 3 billion on the market. We have not dished 3 billion on the market. We have provided a guarantee framework. In case of default, then the money, the government will actually come in. The beauty is that we are asking the institutions to do at least 4 times, so that if we have 3 billion, we should be able to unlock 12 billion. If we have 3 billion, we should be able to unlock how much? 12 billion. If we raise it to 10 billion, we should be able to unlock 40 billion. So at this point in time, what is available is 3 billion, and we hope to unlock 12 billion. There will be, it is expected that the banks that are participating will provide reports on a monthly basis, demonstrating the various aspects that we have asked them to demonstrate, that the beneficiaries are, first of all, micro, they are small, and they are medium, and that the required percentages for the said beneficiaries is also being achieved. I think without much ado, that is about the guarantee scheme that we are doing. Become our ambassadors and sell the product that we are selling, and do not sell a wrong product. Do not sell a fund, do not sell a product that does not exist. Thank you very much. God bless you.
I think that was really